Hi, I'm Babylon Town Supervisor Steve Ballone. On November 4th, 2008, America elected Barack Obama to be the 44th President of the United States. Here in Babylon, we were proud to play a small role in that historic victory, and we thought we would put together for you some of the great moments and great memories that we have from this historic campaign.
I stand before you today to announce my candidacy for President of the United States of America.
Excuse me, you're interrupted again by the news, sir, but here it is. Barack Obama, the senator from Illinois, the junior senator from Illinois, has won the Iowa caucuses, the Democratic caucuses in Iowa, the first big test of the 2008 presidential campaign. I'm telling you, Keith, history. This is Lexington and Concord. This is going around the world right now. I'll say it again. In Rangoon, they're putting their front page together.
What happened is when I saw Barack Obama at the Kerry campaign, that was really the first time I had heard him speak at length at the keynote address, and I was so impressed with him. And I always say I'm more of a gut politician than another kind. There was something that he aroused in me, this feeling that things could be different, and that in my lifetime I would finally see someone who would come forward and talk about the way things could be and the changes that could be made. I believe in government, and this was the changes that could be made to make lives better for Americans. And so I started watching him and reading up about him, and I signed on with him very early on. I think that people should get involved. I think they should, and that was one of the things he did. He did get people involved. He got young people who have been kind of sitting back. I haven't seen that kind of enthusiasm since we were protesting the Vietnam War. So I think it gives us an opportunity to reach out to people, to make them understand that they can give their opinions, they can perhaps do something. And the fact that he uses the internet, the president-elect uses the internet the way he does, is a way for all of us, because they ask our opinion. I mean, can you imagine George Bush asking our opinion on anything? I mean, so you get an opportunity in that way to do things. And certainly I've always encouraged people to get involved in politics. I think it is important, whether it's locally or on a national level. You can make changes because we do have to make them.
I know you didn't do this for me. You did this because you believed so deeply in the most American of ideas, that in the face of impossible odds, people who love this country can change it. I know this because while I may be standing here tonight, I'll never forget that my journey began on the streets of Chicago, doing what so many of you have done for this campaign and all the campaigns here in Iowa, organizing and working and fighting to make people's lives just a little bit better.
Well, I was fortunate to be a delegate for John Kerry in the 2004 presidential campaign, and I was at the convention in Boston. And I saw Barack Obama speak, and he was breathtaking. It was a wonderful speech, and I thought that he did a great job in Chicago. Being a community leader is one of the utmost courageous and respectable job that you can have, in my opinion. Was so impressed by Obama. I was impressed by his speeches that he made previous to the end of the primary and after the primary. I thought that he really spoke and really brought people together.
It was a creed written into the founding documents that declared the destiny of a nation. Yes, we can. It was whispered by slaves and abolitionists as they blazed the trail toward freedom. Yes, we can. Yes, we can.
It was sung
It was started by immigrants who struck out to distant shores, pioneers who pushed westward against the unforgiving wilderness. Yes, we can. It was the call of workers who organized, women who reached for the ballots, a president who chose the moon as our new frontier, and a king who took us to the mountaintop and pointed the way to the promised land. Yes, we can to justice and equality.
Throughout his campaign, he's shown that and demonstrated that different type of leadership. First with the Iowa speech, his obviously first major victory in the primaries. He looked like the president, and he acted like the president, he sounded like the president. And that continued right through March 18th, the More Perfect Union speech in Philadelphia, the response to the Reverend Wright issue. He said things in that speech that real-life politicians don't say. Politicians on TV say this, Michael Douglas, Jimmy Stewart, those types of guys say what he said on TV. He talked about race relations, and he talked about the original sin of slavery, and how we're not near accomplishing the goal of a more perfect union. So it starts with Barack Obama.
And I confess that if all that I knew of Reverend Wright were the snippets of those sermons that have run in an endless loop on the television sets and YouTube, if Trinity United Church of Christ conformed to the caricatures being peddled by some commentators, there is no doubt that I would react in much the same way. But the truth is, that isn't all that I know of the man. The man I met more than 20 years ago is a man who helped introduce me to my Christian faith. A man who spoke to me about our obligations to love one another, to care for the sick, and lift up the poor. He is a man who served his country as a United States Marine, and who has studied and lectured at some of the finest universities and seminaries in the country, and who over 30 years has led a church that serves the community by doing God's work here on earth. Tonight, Minnesota, after 54 hard-fought contests, our primary season has finally come to an end. Sixteen months have passed since we first stood together on the steps of the old state capitol in Springfield, Illinois. Thousands of miles have been traveled. Millions of voices have been heard. And because of what you said, because you decided that change must come to Washington, because you believed that this year must be different than all the rest, because you chose to listen not to your doubts or your fears, but to your greatest hopes and highest aspirations. Tonight we mark the end of one historic journey with the beginning of another. A journey that will bring a new and better day to America. Because of you, tonight I can stand here and say that I will be the Democratic nominee for the President of the United States of America.
If we saw it coming, we'd recognize it by the words hope and change. Perhaps we would recognize it if we heard a young leader rise up to say, we're not a red state America or a blue state America, we are the United States of America. We would know that change was on the way. If that young leader reached out not only to the supporters of the other candidates, in his party, but also beyond partisan lines, to Republicans and independents, and said to us all, America, our time has come. I think we would recognize it in a candidate who, in response to those doubting our ability to solve the climate crisis and create a bright future, inspired millions to say, yes, we can. We have such a nominee. We have such a leader. Yes, we can. Ladies and gentlemen, the next President of the United States of America, Barack Obama.
Then, of course, Thursday night, 80,000 people at Mile High Stadium, and I thought for sure that they would not be able to pull us off. As soon as you walk into the stadium, they had phone banks, they had letter writing campaigns, they had greeters, they had volunteers talking about how we can help Barack Obama, not just by showing up, as you mentioned, and cheering for him tonight, but actually right then and there, as we were waiting for the speech to take place, call 10 of your friends to vote and support Barack Obama. Call 10 of your friends to make a donation to BarackObama.com. They had these phone banks set up right in the hallways of the stadium, and I've never seen anything like it. They completely out-organized their opponent, both in the primary and then in the general election. It was the greatest professional experience in my life. That night when Barack Obama became the first African American to be the nominee of the Democratic Party, it was wonderful and something I'll never forget.
And as I tucked that little girl in, and her little sister into bed at night, you see, I think about how one day they'll have families of their own, and how one day they and your sons and daughters will tell their own children about what we did together in this election. They'll tell them how this time we listened to our hopes instead of our fears. How this time we decided to stop doubting and to start dreaming. How this time in this great country, where a girl from the south side of Chicago can go to college and law school, and the son of a single mother from Hawaii can go all the way to the White House, that we committed ourselves to building the world as it should be. So tonight, in honor of my father's memory and my daughter's future, out of gratitude for those whose triumphs we mark this week and those whose everyday sacrifices have brought us to this moment, let us devote ourselves to finishing their work. Let us work together to fulfill their hopes, and let's stand together to elect Barack Obama, President of the United States of America. Thank you. God bless you, and God bless America.
I have come here tonight to stand with you, to change America, to restore its future, to rise to our best ideals, and to elect Barack Obama President of the United States.